help us with the poets. Thanks, Paul.
Oh, good. Well, we have 2 minutes here, I guess. We have, just to make sure who we have in the house, we have Angel and Carlos and Faith. Is that true? And Barbara?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you for that answer. So, Angel, when you're going to be starting, if you give a little introduction about your group, what you guys do down there, and then I would say, you can probably add one more poem, you and Carlos, and we'll go from there in terms of letting folks have a little bit more time since we're out of the two people aren't here. I just want to say that a lot of these folks, like I said, there's an amazing writing community in lots of places. I think what's in the last number of years, the slams and things have kind of brought out, whether you're into slams or not, but the writing and poetry groups and writing groups have really, bookstores and the folks who are having readings is just mushroomed all over the place. And maybe social media has helped get everybody in contact. I know I've met some amazing writers from all over the area of trying to do my word festival that happens. They come in from all over the country. And these next two artists who are going to begin, Angel and Carlos, I've been lucky enough to meet by them finding out about the festival and coming up and joining us for the Garlic Festival and my word festival. So Angel, why don't you take it from there, and you and Carlos do your section. Thank you.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy and honored to be part of the Author and Artist Festival. Sorry we can't be together in person, but just want to give a big shout out to Paul for inviting us to share on the stage many miles away. Again, my name is Angel Martinez, and we are the Bread is Rising Poetry Collective. Since 1994, we've been spreading consciousness through words. We've been in poetry sessions in the United States, Canada, and England for the past few years. And for this, I just want to give a big shout out. I thought I saw his name on this list here, Brother Storm, for introducing us to the Word Festival. And it was through Storm we got introduced to the wonderful work of the Great Falls Word Festival, and that's how we met Paul originally. And that was a really start of something special, and the relationship has just grown since. We love reading at festivals and enjoy the ones we've hosted open mics ourselves. We've been on stage in rallies, performances on the radio and public access television even. And it's been a beautiful experience, 25 going on 26 years with the Bread is Rising Poetry Collective. It's a really beautiful a way to meet other poets and help poets come together. You want to find out more, you can look us up on thebreadisrising.org. With me today is Carlos Raúl Dufflar, who's the founder and artistic director of the Bread is Rising Poetry Collective, and I'll introduce him in a few moments. So, again, definitely want to say, again, thanks to Paul and for the Word Festival and for the Garlic and Arts Festival and for authors and artists today. And hopefully we can join each other in person at a future time. First poem I'd like to read goes like this. And I was just thinking about what's been going on the last few months. A poor child looks out the window on an empty street. A poor family wonders what they're going to eat. As poor mother and father still wonder why. Poor elders wondering, this has to be no way to die. Why can't a child just go on a spaceship and into the future? Go through the stars. There's got to be another world for me, each child would say. A child sheds a tear for the people and always wondering, there has to be a better way. There has to be a better way. There has to be a better way. There's a song waiting for you and me. There's a new world waiting for you and me. There's a world of the poor all over the earth. One day we will find our freedom. One day we'll find money means nothing. And for every child still sighing, There has to be a better way. There has to be a better way. There has to be a better way. The second piece I want to read, and by the way, the last piece I wrote more to the beginning of this crisis. This one I wrote considerably before that, but I think it applies now to what a lot of us are feeling. And this is called Forward Ever, Backward Never. Forward ever, backward never. These are emancipation days. Oppression now must go forever. Wretched of the earth lead the way. Know his story, but our stories. For the futures told today. Time for fighting is now dawning. World is in struggle every place. There's no way but us together. A mighty fire has been raised. A planted seed is bread to feed. Feed our hunger, not our fears. The devils lie and thrash and thwart. They can never overthrow the truth. People power is our power. Liberation's call is all the way. Forward ever, backward never. These are emancipation days. And I'd like to continue our little journey over here through poetry. Right with me is Raúl Dufflar, the founder and artistic director, the Pressurizing Poetry Collective for the last 25, going on 26 years, and of course a poet for much longer. And I just want to send a shout out to him. Now he was selected as part of this year's induction of the National Beat Poetry Society's group of beat poet laureates, in his case for New York City and New York State. So I'm glad we have two beat poets on this call, along with Paul Richmond, our new national beat poet. And if there are other beat poets, please let me know, then I'll correct myself. In fact, it was through our work with Paul, we actually got to know the Beat Poetry Society as well. So this enlightenment just keeps on. So here's Carlos.
It's an honor to speak and to be here at the Northfield Authors and Writers Festival. So I want to thank everybody. And this is something that I wrote just recently, like a page of history. Since 1492, millions have perished in the name of capital to lay the foundation of a poison of a social structure, injustice, and cruelty. The throughway of cities and motorways of 50 million people unemployed, men and women, on every corner of a long day of hunger, dog eats dog. In the name of humanity, each one of us are from the same branch. And today, yes, there are mountains ahead of us. There are many of us from different generations and tribes that will share with each other. That unity is power, it could change, a new future is coming. We are marching down the streets with our demands for human rights and people's democracy.
Hey,
Waiting.
Carlos, could you move the computer back up a little bit? There you go. Thanks.
Hold this. Waiting for the wind to turn around. The plague that popped out of a test tube, killing people in pain. Let us count the falling corpse. The imperial valley of death, thousands of people are lynched. Nazis, KKK, Aryan Brotherhood, and the American stage. The fascists removes their velvet gloves with their big iron fists on television. Bloodstains, tear gas, brutality. We gotta find a way to bring some love here today. What is more beautiful than when Dr. Martin Luther King, the light of wisdom, I remember 52 years ago that he said that America must have a revolutionary value. The king of peace was murdered by the moral monsters yesterdays. The end of a rainbow people, the end of people struggling. And now our cry is for justice that will rise. A force for change, a force for love and not hate.
Thank you. And thank you to you all. I just saw in the chat that Storm sends his blessings, and that's a beautiful feeling to have. I really appreciate his words where, again, we have to remember the spirit of Martin Luther King and everything he truly stood for, not just what they said he stood for. And it's a way that we hope that we can just come join together. Again, many thanks to this wonderful Authors and Artists Festival. Paul, thanks again. And we look forward to further enlightenment today. Thank you very much.
Thanks, both of you, for being here. Hang in there, because we'll see if we have time. You might be able to come back for one short one, but let's see what happens. Faith, are you there? Do we have Faith here?
Yes, I am right here.
Excellent. Good to see you. And hey, you're on the beach. That's not fair.
Hey. Well, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much for making this festival and opportunity possible. I have 3 poems that I'd like to read to you today. The first one comes from my book. It's hard to see with a virtual background, but it's The Art of Waiting. And it was written during a time period when I was on Okinawa during the Vietnam War. This one is called In the Crossfire. It can take years to build a life, personality unfurling like a banner. Death arrives in one instant with the simple click of a trigger, the arc of a bullet propelled to cut someone down. Collateral damage, friendly fire, veiled phrases that hover over the innocent without giving protection. To the boy in war-torn Hanoi, the girl in the rice paddy, the woman in Detroit as riots broke out, who had no clue in the morning, sipping coffee, that cup would be her last. No inkling as she caught her reflection in a window, leaving the shop with mango in hand, that it and she, minutes later, would lie in the red tide of her blood. The shot meant for a fleeing felon, felling her instead, for stepping into its path. A bullet has no credo. A bullet makes no distinctions, young, old, friend, foe, obeying impersonally the command to fire. A bullet holds no hard feelings toward the one who'll die in a foreign jungle on a city street. Things cycle around again, don't they? So I have 2 other poems I'd like to read. One is Sun's Shadow. We cannot see sun's silhouette head on, only how it bends around what's in its path, defining the other's nature, causing tall towers to stripe across city streets, or aspen leaves to project the shimmer of seawater on grass. The source that casts our shadows on the world has itself no potential for owning one. Sun's brilliant rays flooding out darkness, a reverse black hole, a geyser of light. And this poem is called Oneness. It's all one. Spiritual people claim oneness as fact. It's hard to grasp what seems separate is unified. I get that land from east to west, north to south forms a single America. Thinking of borders, my mind jumps to oceans, the analogy of the whole marine system of life. It's all one, the Atlantic. The sea's not solid, yet a body, a vast entity stretching the full coast from Maine to the Florida Keys. How many of her beaches have I waded in, not visualizing their unity? Those childhood day trips to Boston's North Shore, adult vacations to Maine, visits with parents who retired to Vero. 3 beaches, all the same ocean. Newport and Narragansett from my Rhode Island chapter. Restful days enjoying the cresting surf, still not seeing how they connect to Horseneck, Hammonasset, and my 6-hour transit above the Atlantic to Ireland, viewing her eastern border from Galway and the Aran Isles, stepping into similar waters my feet sampled back home. It's all one. Strange how distance brings clarity. The revelation truly dawns on an island porch with my eyes closed as I rock back and forth, memory replaying the sound of breakers and the visual of sun bouncing off the incoming waves. Thank you. Thank you so much to everybody.
Well, thank you, kind of. That was great. Look for a short one because I may bring you back because we have time. But I'd like to bring up but Barbara, if you're there, I'd like to bring you up so that we can keep it rolling. Those were great poems. Barbara, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Good.
And thanks, Paul and Lisa, and all the sponsors and organizers to make this happen. And Faith, as always, it's good to hear your poems and your words. The first poem I'm going to read is a recent one that I wrote in May. Spring Violets. Beneath the daffodils, shy April violets emerge. Flowers, white or blue, above their heart-shaped leaves. Do they know love or only dream of it in hushed tones of secrecy? Kneel down on damp grass. Put your ear next to their whisper. They will tell you only what you need to know. Your next lover waits behind their stems. Don't look. The thrill is in the playing of hide and seek. Once in your embrace, hold tight. This too will wilt like spring violets. My next poem I wrote in April, and I wrote it after reflecting on James Wright's poem called A Blessing. It also reminds me of reading Joy Harjo's poem about horses. Mares in an April field. Do not rush up to them, these 3 unknown horses grazing in a field. They remember that they are prey. They remember that to run is safer than to fight a pack of wolves. Approach one slowly as if disrobing your lover for the first time. Be gentle. Do not scare the object of your affection. Let your touch be light upon the neck, the softness of her mouth, the muscles lying tense beneath the skin. Talk to the horse as you would to a child falling asleep in your arms. Let your voice drift slowly and with gentleness. Your words do not matter. The tone of your voice tells the mirror all she needs to know. Let your calmness be the magnet of attraction. The horse, the child, the lover is attracted to your kindness, the soothing touch that you would bestow on your dearest love. Let the creature come to you those final steps, all willing, all curiosity, all interest that there is an unknown message between you. That is the magnet which brings you together, the unseen magic that will remain with you after this encounter is over. Leave, remembering the quiet of a new April day, the sound of grass growing beneath unshod hooves, language between creatures, understanding without knowing the words. In my next poem, I mention a book group, and that is the one that meets monthly on Wednesday afternoons at the Dickinson Library that Nick Fleck organizes. And like many people, I find holding a book more satisfying than reading words on a screen. And this poem is about a book with special significance to me. And my sister is listening, so I think she'll enjoy this as well. A Cloth-Bound Legacy. The book group is reading Pride and Prejudice. I know where my volume is, a brown cloth edition that belonged to my grandfather, Leo Francis, who died before I was born. Died when my father, his youngest son, was 8 years old. Did my grandfather read these same words, hold this book in his hands after work, pause over the same paragraphs, reread a specific passage for understanding or for the beauty of the phrase? Or was this book for his wife, Florina, who died at 81 when I was away at college? The book opened, I begin again to read, begin again to wonder who read this book before I turn its familiar pages. Too late now for an answer. The story begun, a story ended. In my last poem, well, like everyone else living during this time, I've got thoughts about our current situation. In one of my poems about this difficult time. Spring during COVID-19. In the time of pandemic, cooking consumes part of the day. Dishes must be washed and stacked. Bed sheets still need changing. Dust bunnies gather and grow. Clocks tell time if only we listen. Lilacs bud, bloom, then turn brown and wither. Hummingbirds return seeking red flowers. Phoebes arrive to raise a new brood. Robins nested in a new place this year, and yesterday morning, the last fledgling flew to the shagbark hickory, brand down a branch, exercising new legs, flew to a higher perch before leaving for new explorations of her world. Life goes on inside this house. Life goes on outside, if only we look. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Barbara.
You're welcome, Paul.
Yeah, thanks. Again, you look to see if you might have a short one. I just want to check to make sure that Prudy is not here, and Abigail, you're not here. So
Prudy has joined us. Prudy is
she
here.
has. Okay, Prudy, great. So Prudy, you're on. If you have your poems ready.
Prudy, if you see something across your screen that says the host would like to unmute you, press yes. There you go. No. Try it again. Okay, there you go. We should be able to hear you now.
Prudy, can you hear us?
I think she's having technical difficulties.
Okay, so we can come back to Prudy. Let me see, Carlos, you or an Angel have another short one that you would like to do?
Yes, hold on one second. Hold on one second. Let me just grab it just so, Walter, but I could do my poem right now while we have some time. I'll make this really fast. Sorry, hold on a second. I'll be with you in a second.
And I don't know if you want to put your video on so then we can see you.
Yep, I'm going to do that. Yes.
And have your computer back, and there you are, and go for it, Angel.
Okay. This last piece I'm going to read is a Nazim Hikmet Dream. May children everywhere have their birthright, a life of peace without fear. This wish was shouted from behind prison bars and painful exiles. This poet looked into sadness with the hope of joy. This revolutionary would tell you his story as he weaved it with the stories of a working class world. I see children bridging nations at a gathering of poets as I see our gateway to freedom. This is a dream that is beyond a dream. It is necessity. This poem is to ask as he remembered the children of the first atomic bombs. Now let us remember the children of today and its never-ending drone bombs. Thank you.
Great, thanks. So while you're getting set up possibly for Carlos, I'm going to see if Prudy, if you're ready. So if you could mute yourself, Carlos, and then Prudy, are you back with us, and can you get on? Okay, I don't hear anything from Prudy there. So, and we don't have Abigail. So I don't know, Carlos, if you're ready. Otherwise, Kindness, if you have one. And if nobody jumps in, Kindness, you're jumping in?
We're both ready,
Okay.
whichever.
Okay, so why don't you go first, Kindness, and then we'll go to
Okay.
Carlos.
Before I was a poet, I was an artist. So this is one about a piece of stained glass. Through colored glass, adjusting my vision back and forth to and through a stained glass panel that hangs in my window, to the yard outside where I see double layers of blue in the sky, green in the grass, one landscape natural, amplified by the other, crafted from glass shapes soldered together. A scene of meadow, river, and mountains superimposed on gravel, garden, spruce trees. In daylight, sun ushers its brightness inside, adorning walls and wooden floors like a prism. In the evening, the panel lies dark in my window, yet electric lights broadcast the image outward to night. Thank you.
Thanks, Kindness. Angel, you ready with Carlos? Oh, you're muted, I guess. You're muted.
Oops, sorry about that. Whoops. Oh, a second. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, he's got a couple more minutes. Actually, he's working on getting his second piece right now, but he.
Okay, that's okay. So and Barbara, did you have one you would like to do?
Yes, I do, Paul.
Okay, great. Why don't you go?
I wonder what happens when we die, and especially what happens when someone we love dies before us, and if there's a reunion someplace. Here are my thoughts. After dying, my last clear vision of the world falls beneath me. A shallow, silent star, my beacon, shows me where laughter lies. Promises of joy to come in the hereafter if there is a next best thing. Rise from this present body, release the arthritis, sorrow, but also memory. Your life and mine, once joined, now set on a different path. Or maybe we go the same way, unseen to each other, because your joy mingles with mine. We become one pure light, as your thoughts and my thoughts evaporate, a shedding of this life, gone from the body, gone from memory, just being, a perfect meditation. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. And you're ready, Carlos, over there?
Yes, I am ready.
I'm glad to have you here, Carlos.
Thank you very much, and I want to thank everybody for the kindness and all that, and sharing. When dawn rises towards the sky, the raven flies above in grace and smile. I laugh. I embrace nature that surrounds the eye. It already knows the warmness as the sun pours. In the past, I will walk besides Onondaga Lake in 4 directions. I have rejoiced at that moment. And today, I will be on the road, on the slopes towards the further north, towards the Mohawk trails. I had enough to glaze into a smile. A spoken word stage at the Northern Quad, Garlic Fest, Art Fest, exchanging verses. When the leaves were yellow, I could smell, and I stood by the woods. Water was on the horizon, and the birds were leading through the ground. Mother Earth bounds us all with to keep us in harmony to find the light. At 2 o'clock on this sunny afternoon, my journey towards the Appalachian trails, up and down the long valley. On that very day were the steps that I shall ascend to Mount Gredlock. We should pass the summer and celebrate that 70th level of my life. I listen to the music of California Dreams by Wes Montgomery that brings me a sentimental moment into the heart and soul. I sing in joy while drinking un cafecito and a slice of coconut pineapple cake. Let us dance and joy. We're cool in the gang that we got to celebrate now. We're in the circle of family and celebration of joy. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. Prudy, are you there, and can you still jump in at this moment? If not, I'm going to read a poem here. This was written before 2009, and since we have all these things about is the truth being told, I wrote this back then in relation to our politicians. It says, do you swear? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Our first leader, George Washington, chopped down a cherry tree, and when he was asked, he couldn't tell a lie. He said he did it. I am supposed to use that as an example of a great leader's character, to never tell a lie. Yet he chopped down the cherry tree, a source of food, for no reason. No reason was ever given. All I heard was that he chopped down the cherry tree and he couldn't lie about it. He admitted doing it, but why? I mean, he didn't like cherries? I mean, what's not to like about cherries? I think he might have been the first act of environmental destruction. He just didn't lie about it. Now, our modern leaders, they do their version of chopping down cherry trees. They just lie. People know they chopped down the cherry tree, really. And our modern leaders respond, oh, there was never a tree there. Come on. It's established that there was a tree there and they knew nothing about it then. And then we release all kinds of scenarios. Maybe the wind knocked it down. You know, the wind is powerful sometimes. And then when evidence of wood chips is found, they say, oh, we don't know what happened. Those must have been those pesky beavers going at it. They're informed that the beavers have died long ago. And then somehow, for some reason, a Boy Scout is arrested. They imply that he was on drugs or something. And they search his room and they report that he listens to music that they think was created by Satan. It's just rock and roll. Notes were found from hundreds of Girl Scout cookies. He used to write the Girl Scout that he bought the cookies from. He was hoping that she would be his cookie. She didn't respond. He bought a lot of cookies, let me tell you. We're told every day that the terrorists are caught, and after hearing the news, I'm supposed to feel relieved. The problem has been solved, the guilty have been caught, and hopefully they're going to be punished. Yet the next day, I see that there's another cherry tree missing. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. So, folks, we're coming in near the end. I just want to thank various sponsors and folks and let everybody know that you should go to the website and check out. Prudy, you're here.
Yeah, I'm
We
here.
have 5 minutes. You can go for it. You got a poem? Do it.
5 minutes or a one?
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Okay. All right. Well, this is going to be a little impromptu because I had practiced something else, but we'll go with it, okay? And just to, apologize for my inept reading.
Hey, here you are. You made it. So good.
Yeah, that's true. The first poem is the first Earth Day in spring 1970. It was after the chaos on campus when students sat in and dropped out, when friends became entrenched in animosity. We gathered in small groups at Reed Hall. Maybe it was international, where we met afterwards in Joe's room on the 8th floor, smoking pot and listening to Sly Stone's Everyday People and 2125 or 426 by Chicago on the stereo. We were yeah, excuse me. We were a diverse bunch of idealists, drinking cheap wine, devouring munchies, lousy pizza, and lighting incense to cover our ignorance. The second one is Alone in April, like a lot of us were and are. I sit at the kitchen table with the wind hammering around the door jambs, splatters of rain sandblasting the bay window. How many years have I spent like nickels and dimes without a thought of the consequences? I think of the 2 spindly daffodils that volunteered to cheer me up, flailing in the storm. I find myself ready to go out and cut them down, if only to save their yellow blooms and heady sweetness for another day. But in the pasture before me, I see the neighbors' horses standing, hunched and dark with rain. I sit here in the quiet, envisioning spring. Interrupted. She sleeps for an hour, thinking it's been all night long. The clock blinks 1, 2, 3. She gives up, pens these lines before slipping back into dreamland. She's online dating Kurt Cobain. She's feeding giant squirrels. When she reads this in the morning, nothing makes sense, but the line breaks. Dishwasher poet, kind of like Barbara, dishwasher poet. With my hands deep in suds, well into the greasy pots and pans. Words of a poem fill my head. Soap and water melt paper. Rock, scissors, paper. Like the kids' game we used to play in the back seat of our station wagon. Our fists slamming, fingers in cutting motion against the lowly paper. Why is it that a poem washes upon the stony shore of memory when I least expect it and my hands are wet? And then the last one is the man in moonlight. Moonlight. He stands at the brim of hill behind his barn at moonrise. With hands in his pockets, he ruminates on that big rock hanging there. Most nights he's tired, preferring supper and early bed. But tonight, something's gotten into his head. With hands in his pockets, he ruminates on that big rock hanging there. Could be the soft rumble his cows make eating hay. But tonight, something's gotten into his head. The girl he knew long ago who spoke the names of the moon. Could be the soft rumble of his cows eating hay. Pink wolf sprouting grass fever. The girl he knew long ago who spoke the names of the moon in a love poem just for him. Pink wolf sprouting grass fever. Most nights he's tired, preferring supper and early bed in a love poem just for him. He stands at the brow of hill behind his barn at moonrise. Thanks a lot.
I'm so glad you made it, Prudy. Thanks for being there, and thanks for bringing your poems.
Thank you. Thanks
thanks
everybody. Great
Yes.
job.
Thanks to everybody who came in terms of all the poets. There's a lot more readings the next 3 Saturdays. Don't go anywhere. There's 2 more great writers presentations. I just want to do a couple thank yous to the Northfield Public Library, the Dickinson Memorial Library, the Mass Cultural Council, Greenfield Cooperative Bank, Northampton's Cooperative Bank, Greenfield Savings, the town of Northfield itself, on and on. So please, also Amherst Books was willing to carry a lot of the books from the major writers. Support local bookshops. Support local artists, authors. All these authors have, many of them have books. Please check out their websites. Again, let your friends know that this exists because it is being recorded and you can come back at some point. There'll be links for you to be able to watch some of the people that you missed, that you saw, that you thought were really great to have other people see. So again, and thanks to Lisa who's helped make this happen. And so Lisa, I'll turn it over to you so that we can kind of move along. And again, folks, thanks for coming out for the reading parts, and thanks to the authors who made it out.